suggests might be Zarahemla, which is Santa Rosa, currently underwater with the dam project, so we can't do any more excavating there. But there is a temple that, according to the pottery sequences, appears to have been built somewhere in the ballpark of 200 BC. You can't date it precisely, but seems to be about 200 BC. When the non-Mormon archaeologist was excavating this temple, he gets down to the bottom floor, and you have to understand that what they cared about on these temples was the outside, not the inside. This isn't an Egyptian pyramid where the inside is intricate with all the traps and everything. There was trash on the inside. They just put rocks and pots and anything they can do to pile up the junk, and then they put the nice facing stuff on the outside so it looked pretty, because it was the outside that they cared about. So you get down to the bottom, and down at the very bottom, unlike most of the temples that they've excavated, they found a plaster floor. You don't need a plaster floor in most of these because you're going to pile junk on top of it. In this one, there was a plaster floor. So they said, okay, let's excavate the plaster floor. And after they get through excavating the plaster floor, they find that there are two different types of pebbles that are in the fill for this bottom rung, or the bottom level of the temple. One of them are smooth river stones, and the other is sharp-edged gravel. And they are arranged on an east-west side so that the line between them follows the northwest or the north-south axis. So they lined these things up with the stars and said, there's the north-south axis. On this side, smooth stones. This side, sharp rocks. None of the sharp rocks are in with the smooth stones. None of the smooth stones are in with the sharp rocks. So the non-Mormon archaeologist is looking at this and he says, okay, what in the world were they doing? He says, here's a guess. He says, I'm guessing that at this point in time there were probably two different peoples that came together and decided to make a covenant. They were all one people, and so they represented the two different people by the two different stones, plastered it all over and made one temple out of it to signify that they were all one people. And that would be a real good reason why the temple wasn't there when Benjamin needed to speak and had to build a tower, and his son did not. Okay. Yeah, we got a few more. Still in Benjamin. Here's some more fun stuff in Benjamin. Yeah, we're going to read from 10 to 13. I'm probably stopping a lot while I'm doing it. Benjamin starts speaking to them, and in verse 10 he says, I have not commanded you to come up hither that you should fear me, or that you should think of myself, or that I of myself am more than a mortal man. That's a really weird way to start. What would you have thought if I'd have come in here and said, by the way, I just want to let you know I'm a mortal man? You'd look like I was nuts. You're going, well, yeah, of course you are. Why would I say that? Well, we have a history of saying that there are divine kings around, and so we assume maybe that must be what it was, because we know that from the old world. In the New World, it was literally true, and there were kings who were considered divine. And at this particular point in time, the concept of the divine king in the Maya area was really taking off. And this concept of becoming a king and having a stratified society was the thing that was going on in the culture area at the time. So when he starts off and he says that, he starts off with this series of negative comments about what he isn't. And the only reason for starting with those is because he's going to make a contrast to something that he could have been. And he's saying, I'm not like the other guys. And it only makes sense if they knew that there was somebody else that was making the claim. Without somebody else who was claiming to be divine, Benjamin's statement makes no sense whatsoever. Then he continues, but I am like as yourself, subject to all manners of infirmities in mind and body. So, I'm human. Not the deity that these other guys are saying they are. Yet I have been chosen by this people and consecrated by my Father and was suffered by the hand of the Lord that I should be a ruler and a king over this people. So he says, I am the king, but I'm human. And contrasted to somebody else. Verse 12. I say unto you that as I have suffered that I have been suffered, that as I have been suffered to spend my days in your service, even up to this time, and have not sought gold nor riches nor any manner of riches of you. Okay? Again, think about what's happening here. He's giving them a negative comment. By the way, when you came in, I did not charge you $50. Why would I say that? It only makes sense if there's a context in which somebody might have. And in this case, he's saying, I didn't ask gold and silver of you like the other guys you know who do. Same kind of thing goes with the next set. Neither have I suffered that ye should be confined in dungeons, nor that ye should make slaves of one another, nor that ye should murder or plunder or steal or commit adultery. Nor have I suffered that ye should commit any manner of wickedness. And again, go back to me walking in here and say, by the way, when you came in here, I did not require any of you to kill anybody else who was here. Why would you say that? The only reason he's saying that is that in this context, these were things that happened. The people that he was talking to were familiar with kings who did these things. Now, it also turns out that if you read the Book of Mormon with these eyes of the historian and you drop it into the cultural context of Mesoamerica, some of these words actually turn out to be kind of code words that appear to be Joseph Smith's way of describing something that was rampant in Mesoamerica. For instance, we see murders all of the time in context where our understanding of the word murder simply doesn't apply. How is it that Benjamin is saying, I haven't suffered you to commit murders? Well, in the context of Mesoamerica and in the other places where we see that context in the Book of Mormon, it appears to be talking about human sacrifice. Places where they were killing a human being. And he's saying, we're not doing that. The next one is the plunder. Mesoamerican cities would increase their stature and increase their wealth by conquering another city and imposing a tribute on them. And they would say, and you'll remember the case of Zeniff and Noah and then Limhi, where the Lamanites said, yeah, you can stay here, but pay. They would do that with other cities, and that's how they got where they were. And this concept of plundering, if you go through the Book of Mormon, is the way that the Book of Mormon describes that particular facet of Mesoamerican culture. And so it's another one of those things where the culture is telling us that these words have meaning in that area. And so when Benjamin is saying to them, I haven't had you do this, he's saying, I have not set you up to be the same kind of city that everybody else is. All right. We've got just a little bit more time. I can tell you one more story. Tyler, should we do Ammon or should we do the anti-Nephi Lehis? Anti-Nephi Lehis. Okay. These are my two favorite stupid stories in the Book of Mormon. And I say it that way lovingly because we all read them and we think these are wonderful stories until you look at them with the eye of the historian. You look at them, with this very dispassionate idea and you said, okay, what's really happening there? If I strip away all of the things that sound faith-promoting, they really are dumb stories. Until you drop them in the cultural context. Anti-Nephi Lehis, a really interesting group of people. These people convert to the Lord and they say that converting to the Nephite religion was the hardest thing that they have ever done. And one of the things that they're going to do now is they're going to give up fighting. And so they're not going to do war anymore. And so they're going to take all their weapons of war and they're going to bury them. So then people come in, and these are the guys who are the rulers of this particular city. Somebody else comes in and says, well, okay, we're going to take over because we don't like what you're doing. We're going to be the kings of the city. And so they come in and they start fighting them. And because the anti-Nephi Lehis are not going to fight anymore, they lay down their lives. And the people eventually get tired of killing somebody who isn't fighting back. And then they said, yeah, darn, this isn't any fun anymore. And so they stop. But they say, I don't want to kill you anymore, but I really want to kill somebody. And I'm not really through killing yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 3-day hike up the coast, and I'm going to go to the city of Ammonihah, and I'm just going to kill them. So they do.